Hello, my name is Jonathan Luke, and this is my individual assessment for our week 3. Go ahead and pull this up. Here you can see me loading the refinement build from our desktop. This is our correct refinement build. That one's not working, but this is the correct one the team should be loading from. Load that up. Pull up my ClickUp task while this is loading. Come on, there we go. So far, ready for review. I have completed the health system. Let's go ahead and load in the level select. We don't have any damagers in the level right now, I believe. It still needs to be implemented into the levels. But let me go ahead and show the health bar. So the health bar does work. We have a few damage causers, but I don't believe they've been implemented in the level right now. They're just on my test level. So when the player takes damage, the health bar goes down. And then my next ClickUp task was to create the health collectible pickup. So those kind of fell close to each other for the health system. As the player takes damage from enemies and projectiles, whether it's melee enemy or projectile enemy, the health bar does go down. And as the player finds health collectible pickups around the map, it restores the health bar. And I can't demonstrate because we do not have it implemented, like I said, into I believe any of the levels, even the toy box right now, which we should, but that is just underneath my test
I
level
guess
right
I'll
now.
have to save my cows.
Oh, sorry about that. But as you can see, the collectibles are working. Um, so let's move on to our next ClickUp task. We got that underneath. My last one already for review is the death ability. Once the player's health bar reaches 0, we do have a ragdoll effect, so the player is able to die, and then it'll pull up the pause menu. Here, let me go ahead, get rid of the perforce. There we go. Underneath in progress, the enemy movement we do have working. That melee enemies are patrolling this nav mesh area right here for the player. Once the player reaches in sight of their cone within radius, then the enemy starts chasing the player. And we need to rig up the animation montage for the enemy to attack. Right now it just pauses. So once the animation montage, we get rigged into that, the enemy, these guys will be the melee enemies. And as they melee, the player obviously will take damage to the health system, or the health bar, and the health bar will go down. Let's pull up our next ClickUp task. So that's why this one's still under review. We do have 3 enemies. We have the melee enemy that patrols until within sight. We have a floating enemy that floats up and down, and as it's within sight of the player, they'll shoot projectiles at the player that hit the player and take damage. So the enemy movement and attack style is still in progress, being worked on. Create reusable classes and systems. We need to attach the shotgun to the player character. Right now we just have the projectile, which is one shot to player sound rigged up. Shotgun sounds a little loud, sorry about that. But you can see enemies are just one shot for right now. But once we get the shotgun actually attached to the player character, the projectile will be a spread instead of just a single shot like that. So that's still in progress. Pull up my next ClickUp task. So when the player clicks right on the mouse button, it will pull out a pitchfork, which they can use to melee enemies instead of the shotgun, which they use to shoot projectiles at enemies. So that will fall under create reusable classes and systems. Blueprint all assets for team. I've just been assisting the team with the collectibles and the just block mesh and whatnot of the level. Just assisting the team in kind of various ways. And that one's a little bit broad, but there have been things outside of the assessments that I have going on there. Ooh, that was a bad sound. So there have been other assets that I've been assisting the team with that are not underneath my ClickUp task. That's kind of where that falls down into. Moving on, the damage system. So right now, like I said, the enemy AIs are still underneath work because we do have the chasing of them. We need to get their attack system set up. So let's start with the melee system, the shooting projectiles, and then the third enemy will be an elite enemy, and that enemy will be a mixture of the two, just randomly going from melee to projectiles. So that falls underneath the damage system. Once the player can take damage from not only that, but I believe we are implementing a biohazard area, like radioactive areas, so that will affect the damage system as well. And there's a few subtasks underneath that, like, yes, the subclass enemy movement. We got that. Got the damage system. So far we've completed 3 tasks that are under ready for review, and we have 4 more, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, yes. With a few subtasks underneath those, but those are what I've worked on so far. We got, let's see what we covered. Apologize, I'm just checking my checklist. We showed loading up from the Perforce. We showed the correct refinement build being launched from the desktop. We showed the task and ClickUp. I talked about the task completed and uncompleted, and I hope you enjoyed my video. Thank you so much for watching.
Hello, my name is Cage Ganesh, and I will be presenting my contributions for Team JerryRig for the project Auto Abduction. My main roles and responsibilities was anything related to UI, so I was responsible for all widget-based elements of the game. To start with, we will open up the project and display the first thing that the player will see, which is the logo, and the logo will be the emblem for our project, and it will fade in, show the image, and then fade out, then open to the main menu. We will start by opening up the project within Perforce. Never mind that. When we move over to the main menu, I will go ahead and turn down the volume just to not deafen the listener as I'm explaining. As for the main menu here, the main menu will be the hub area that will incorporate all locations and interactivity that the player can expect to go through. Just the available sections will be the level select, options, which formerly was called settings, credits, and quit game. And I will show its functionality now. We won't quit the game because that would be counterproductive to the presentation. Moving on to the credits section. The credits will display all work done by each student with their names shown, with their role displayed, and all contributions added at the bottom of their name and role. When the credits plays, it will show the name of the game designers first, the artist next, the logo, and then the credits will end, returning you to the main menu. I will play it in its entirety to show its functionality. We elected to not add our names, roles, or contributions as of yet because we were waiting for the majority of the game to be finished before we go and add all of our names and roles, as we felt it would be a cleaner way to set up the project for its completion date within week 4. Now we will go through the artists, or the template for the artists. Then the logo will play, and now I will press space to return us back to the main menu, after the logo plays, of course. Next, we will move on to the settings page. The settings panel will include all available information for the player, such as sensitivity for the mouse, brightness, and audio volumes, all of which are values stored in a save game instance and ready to be referred to when the game starts. So when the player selects their values, it will be saved and reused in the game with some quirks with the numbers here, as you saw. You can also reset so that they're all 50. So we will then go and we will set the music to 0 and the brightness to about 25. These numbers will be important to display the save game instance when we go to that section of the presentation. Next, moving on, we will enter the controls widget, which will display all available button inputs for the player to utilize during gameplay and can be accessed by pressing the controls panel right here, and then you can see in the 3 columns of different types of interactivity what can be expected during gameplay. Moving on to the level select, the level select will display 3 levels. Initially, I was going to have level 2 and 3 locked, but for the refinement presentation, I elected to not have them locked. And when the player hovers over a certain level, they will see an image and a description of what the level will look like and contain when selected. Level 1, Level 2, and Level 3. Next, we will move on to the save game instance, which will be demonstrated when we enter the actual project. The save game object, as described before, will save all selected save game data. So you have the sensitivity, the brightness, and the audio functionality. And as previously shown before we enter the level, oh, that is not correct. Okay, we would encounter a bug here. We'll have to reopen the project. But this will also be an instance to show that the save game instance is saved even when the game is closed. So as you can see here, the brightness was set to 25 initially, and the music to 0, although this number is not representative of the actual value here, but the slider was all the way to the left, so the save game object works as presented here. Next, we will move on to the player HUD. So we create a player HUD and pause menu widget, both of which are represented in the game. The player HUD will show all available information for when the game starts, like a scoring screen, so on and so forth, a health bar, and when the player presses tab, they will enter the pause menu. So as you can see here, you have a crosshair, you have a score, you have a health bar. When you press pause, just as before, the values are saved, minus a few visual quirks here, but the values are saved nonetheless, 25 and 0. And you can switch between the controls panel as described before. Next, moving on, we have the health bar. The health bar will be the visual representation of the player's health float value when taking damage from different sources, and will change accordingly.
I guess I have to save my cows.
So as the AI over here do not inflict damage to the player, I had to use these damage causer test volumes here to have the player take damage to visually represent the player's health going down, as shown there, and then the player will die. And this moves us on to the last element of the project, which is the lose screen. It was initially to create a win and lose screen, but we elected to make the credits page the win screen, as you saw initially. The lose screen will essentially be the choice the player can make to either return to the main menu or play again. When the player reaches a health pool of 0, the "you died" message and a play again or main menu will be displayed on screen. In this case, we will press play again. And that would conclude the
Yeehaw!
that would include the entirety of my 10 tasks for UI functionality for the game Utter Abduction. Thank you for watching, and now we will move on to the next student showcase for our submission video.
Hello, I'm Cameron Risson, and this is the start of my individual assessment. Alright, we're going to start level 1. I'm going to go ahead and pull up my ClickUp tasks. Alright, so the first ones we're going to go over are collectibles, collectible tracker, and score tracker. Go ahead and show these here. Um, for the collectibles, we have wheat and eggs. Um, rewards the player for exploring the world and engaging with core content loops, and they will be placed throughout the game. Eggs will be placed within the game as leading lines and will be more abundant, as where wheat will be spread out sparsely through the level for the player to collect, and there will be less than eggs. While eggs will be the primary collectible that adds score to the player um, and to lead the player throughout the level. For the collectible tracker, very simple. The collectible tracker system keeps count of all the collectibles that the player earns. It shows, and it will show up in the UI for the player when they collect one to show how many they have collected so far. It tracks and updates as the player is playing through the game. Score tracker. Uh, Score tracker system records and displays all points for the player, all points that the player earns as they play throughout the level. It also includes the score for the collectibles. As they gain, they'll gain score for collecting said collectibles. I'll go ahead and demonstrate that currently in the level. First one we have here is eggs.
What are they doing to my cows?
As we can see, when we collect one egg, it pops up in the top left here. It says we have one egg and we get 10 scores. If we gather another, it'll say 2 eggs, and they will also gain the score for that as well. So as we can collect them, we can see the number go up and the score go up as well. We'll go up here to where the first wheat is placed to showcase the second collectible. Alright, and here we have our second collectible, which is wheat. So if we collect this, we can see that the score does go up. It'll say 1, and same thing for the collectible, as it will let them know that they collected 1. And if we collect another here, we'll see that it goes up to 2. So that is both the collectible tracker, and score tracker system that was added and implemented in the current build. Next, we're going to go over other tasks here. So AI BP enemy. This one here was just to create an AI BP controller to track the player. It is a baseline for future enemies to be made from. At the time when we created this task, there was someone who was taking on the role of taking on the AI, but we needed an AI that was currently in the game to be built off from, which is what I created. The current one of the refinement build is not by AI, but there was stuff taken from that one to create the current AI in the game. Um, for that, the player life system, it is completed. It does track the player life system. When they die, they will be respawned at a checkpoint, and then one life will be lost. But it's not in this current build, as we can see here, the checkpoint system is still in progress. It is not completed because at this time when the player dies, and the actor is destroyed, it does count down the lives, but it won't count the collectibles and score that the players earned because they're tracked in the players. So I'm still working on um, migrating and figuring out a way to keep the score within the player and to keep track of the score upon death and respawn. However, the character does respawn at checkpoints. It's just that their score and collectibles aren't tracked after death. Limited use weapon, weapon pickup, and weapon swapping. Currently in this build, we don't have any other weapons other than the shooting that you saw from the character here, which is this. So there's currently no other weapon to switch to at the moment. So I can't showcase it or show any of that as there is no other weapon currently in this build. And then radioactive map hazards. At the time, we are not putting in radioactive map hazards in any of the current levels that are showcased here. As for those, I haven't had the time to get to them as there were other areas of the project that uh, other teammates needed help on that I was helping with, and so haven't been able to implement that one in the current build as of yet. And I believe that's all.
Hello teacher, this is Kevin Bustamante, and in today's video I'll be talking about my independent assignment, along with what I was able to do in this week, the how to showcase my build section, and what I couldn't finish in time, and showcase something we had to do to adjust it for our team's time priorities. So first off, let's go over the tasks that you approved of, which are the create the power up and the toy box level, along with the additional task you approved of the level transition, as you approved it later on for an extra thing, just as a backup. So the create the level transition blueprint is all completed, as the subtask I made for it and the description of what I wanted to do is fully completed in the project itself. Thus is on the completed tab. However, you will not see it in the build I will open up shortly, as the build we made today had to be made early in the morning, as most people in the team either worked in the morning or worked at night. Thus, the person Cage, who was grateful enough to be able to edit all these videos together for the main assignment, cannot be here in the morning, and thus coming late at night to do all that work for the submission. So we had to make a build for him and other people with this time problem to make sure they all have ability to access as quickly as possible so that they can submit it for him to edit all together for the team video. So what mostly you'll see in the project itself is the toy box level. And while we do have technically a transition in the toy box level, it does not take it to another level. It takes us to the menu. I know if that still counts because I made a level transition, not a menu transition, but that's besides the point. So also as for the power up, it's in progress because I have yet to complete it. As the team and I have landed on a double jump, that's limited time power up, but I have not worked on it yet. Have been helping other people and working on the toy box this week. So especially because it's a could have, I did not put it as a main priority for my stuff, because I figured the level transition also had enough for the count as 10 with the 7 tasks here and the 4 tasks here. But well, you mostly and as for the toy box, it is ready for polishing as the main level layout and every indicator, showroom, and aspect of what I want it to be for it to use by the team is in the level. But the polishing aspects, like having the moving targets, having the targets for the shooting range be able to move around, and the AI to properly do its AI function depending on which one is in. But I couldn't add that in time for the build purposes in the morning. Thus, it is ready for polishing, not ready and completed. Now let's look at the build. I'm opening the build from my folder, as I had the error for the project they added in Perforce is first off the wrong build and having multiple errors with a lot of people. So for me, Cage just sent me the blueprint by the student email so that I can do the video today. This is our image for JerryRigStudios. This is our project. Upper reduction, menu. Wow, I didn't notice how loud that was. Now let's go to the toy box. So this is the toy box that I made. The idea was for the player to have start in the house itself, but because I don't know how this was fully set up, I didn't know that I can't place the player start in it. Maybe it was fixed later on, or I'm not knowing something. But that's why I put the toy box as polishing and not completed. But it says here's the central area to where to access all areas. The left side is the place to test the scoring system. And sadly, we have not added a sprint yet, so I have to walk everywhere. And that's the scoring area to test out the scoring system, along with other stuff we have planned for it later on. This is supposed to be the targeting range, where the player will use the guns and their melee and pitchfork to to attack moving targets. But I do not have the moving target blueprint working at this time, thus the whole polishing. And also, the person in charge of the weapons have yet to finish their aspect, so the moving targets were active. It's not like I could really showcase out because the gun still works like that for now. And this is the AI area in which we will test our AI and test different functions, play around, see how much damage we're doing, adjust values, and stuff like that. But we implemented a new AI with the Blackboard system, but the way to you just set it up in a new level is very complex and at least takes an hour and 20 minutes to do. What the whole refinement we had to do to adjust it for that, because it's not something you just plop it in, plop the navigation system for them to walk around. It's like so much more complex than that. So for now, I just implement the basic enemy AI in here with the model we have for them at the time. Those are the sounds for when they're dead, and like that. So we have the AI area, the target range, and the scoring system area. Back here, I was thinking of adding like the approved area or the Easter egg area, but with the time constraint to make sure we had the build ready in time, I didn't add one yet. Along with not being sure how I even display that, as I asked everyone, they weren't sure how best to showcase the approved. So for now, I just cut it. And to exit this area, as you can't access the menu here, we have this my level transition that with modify goes us back to the main menu. And thus we are back to the main menu, the upper adduction. Now I just quickly wanted to showcase this in the project itself. just in case that thing in the project itself didn't count as a level transition as it went back to menu, as this is the thing I made. I can see a transformation to the actual level one, as the one we were in before was the personal test area, which I mistakenly was making my stuff for the actual toy box that I thought I was thinking in the wrong place. Now, I believe that's. Oh, that was weird. I believe that's everything needed for the independent part. So the recap, the toy box, and the transition are the transition is completed while the toy box is ready for the polishing aspect, while my power up is not completed and needs to be done in the following days. And let me just showcase. These are my tasks for the toy box. And these are my tasks for that level transition. Let me just okay, yeah. So yeah, that's my part of the independent assignment. And this build that I just played in is a refinement build that will be sent Monday. Hope this is everything I needed to showcase. Have a nice day.
Hello, this is Robert Claus from Team JerryRig on our capstone project. My first task was to make a main level, which I had done. It's just a blank level. Go into level 1. I made the pacing and the map here. I created level platforms, platforming pieces, and I did tractors and a barn asset and a wheat asset. If we go inside, you can see the design piece that I did, which were just temporaries, so they have already been transferred out. At least this piece has been. It does. They do move at the very beginning of the level, but it's less noticeable, being that the amount of time the player is in the beginning starter home, you won't notice it. The tractor doesn't move, but it is in both barn level and farm level, so the first and second level. This has been moved out of the first level, but this was the barn stand-in until we got the barn asset, the static mesh from the artists. It has been used in level 2 as a set of walls, though. So we do have this still in the game. And then this wheat asset has been posed out of the first level, except for in the title sequence piece. So we go back into this now. Where is it? I'm going to set this up so I have level 2 open so we can talk about that quickly. I'm going to swap over to Perforce so you can watch the level open. You won't get to see the logo but until the end of the first level, being that the time to open takes a little bit longer than expected. So in Perforce, I made the the build, so the build's right here. Grab that, swap over the camera for you. You might get to see the logo. So in this, I did the information and the local screenshots, which I do have to update for the first level. So we go into the first level. I'm quick about it, and you might get to see the animating of the platforms. Yeah, see, there the platforms. So here's the lead assets. I did add a couple extra things, like I've animated that turbine piece. I did create the fences here, but they were not part of the asset pieces that I made on the ClickUp. So we've got the tractor, solid piece. This is what the wheat block was originally. Now it's been transferred out for foliage, which I do have to adjust for FPS pieces. I still have to add barriers I did add wheat bales to make sure that you don't have to do the fence jumps because I didn't get to doing that this week. So I added wheat bales to make it more there. We'll see. So we'll go into open level 2. It should be right here. I'm going to swap back over to ClickUp real quick so I can show you level 2 and level 3, which I have to do still. Where is it? So in level 2, as you've already seen, I have a wheat bale right here, a wooden crate, and a transport ship. The transport ship was originally the mothership, where the mothership is currently in the level 1. It is now in level 3 or level 2, and then you've got the wooden crates, which are in level 2. So you've got, like, here's what the asset is. Where is it? There it is. So I've got wheat bales, which you've already seen, and this one is not here, but it was originally something I had made, which I have moved out of the level. Go over there. We go down to level 3, which I did not really get to. It is in the game, level 3 is, but I have not made the assets level 3. So the only thing that was done with the level map and the level pacing. This is more or less because I've had to do the job of 2 people when my teammate who was supposed to be doing level design with me was supposed to do the blockouts, and then I was supposed to come in and do the rest. Like, I was supposed to make these assets to help out for it and work on more of the level, but I did not. So now we're going to swap back over so you can see them. You can see what kind of work I've done. I am not a great platformer, but I will be able to show you in level 2 most of the stuff from the couple platforms that I can get to. I have tested. It is possible to make it all the way across. I'm just not that great. So we've got this. See if I can do this. I am not great. But yeah, you can see the platforms. This is the barn asset piece turned into walls. You could see crates over here. And right down in the back here is a piece of, that little metal piece there is the UFO. I did make these little light assets. So we have those. Some crates here as well. But like I said, I'm not a good platformer. So, but yeah, I made all of this week. I've still yet to finish all of the making of the level, so I'm very sorry on that. There we go. So you've got the final enemies here. That's gonna be takes you back to the main level, and then we'll go into level 3, which will not have much to it. Being like I said, I didn't get into making it as much. I did have a fellow teammate help me out with making it, so he populated the interior here, but I did add the mothership and all the landscape so that the player has something to walk on, being that there is collision problems with the assets. But as of right now, we've got the starting area for this, and that exit hole over there is where the final, like, this is where you're going to escape back to the final area. But as of right now, we mismeasured some stuff, so we will not be able to, like, go through the door because we mismeasured the height at which the walls need to be set at. So these will be higher up in the final build. But yes, that is all of it. Like I said, I didn't get to this because I had to do the work of 2 people, because I wasn't supposed to originally do the blockout, but to do the level. in at least in our group, I was gonna like flesh it out with like I would have done these pipes and stuff like that, but I ended up having to do both jobs at that point, and it became a little overstressed and I got a little overworked, and I had to take a break before I could continue working. But yeah, that's all the work I've done on the project currently. Thank you for watching.